So Apple finally came out with the new Macs. They have the M1 chip. Let's find out a little bit about them. All right, so you probably heard that Apple came out with their new Macs, and they have what they call the M1 chip. It's the new Apple Silicon, and it came out, we didn't know if they were going to come out with 3 of them, 1 of them. We didn't know exactly the timeline or anything like that, but now we do. So what they did is they came out with a MacBook Pro with the M1 chip, MacBook Air, and they came out with the Mac Mini, and they all have the new M1 chip. So it's basically the same chip across the board. There's some slight variations of the systems that they're coming out with, and we'll get into that in a second. I'm just going to show you what they're all about. First, I want to go through the M1 chip and just show you a little bit about what it is, how much more power it's supposed to be. And again, this was a chip created by Apple for these computers. It's not using Intel anymore. It is compatible. The software is going to be compatible with the older Intel Macs and this new Mac right here. Obviously, this is the first iteration, so you got to see how it goes. But these are going to be shipping soon. I think you can order them online right now. In fact, I'll show you. You can. You just have to. They're probably going to arrive in like maybe a week or so, and we're going to getting real numbers in. So, long story short, let's get into it. I'm going to go just to show you really quickly what's available in the MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, and then also the Mac Mini. Those have the new M1 chips. And then I'm going to show you a little bit about the M1 chip. I'm going to show you that first, just about how much it's capable of doing and what they actually have it classified as far as real world, what they think it's going to do as far as battery and performance. So let's get into the video. This is what it's going to be about today. Let's go. The M1 chip, they call it Small Chip Giant Leap on Apple's website. So let's go ahead and find out a little bit about what the M1's all about. Again, this replaces the Intel chips. This is going to be the Apple created chip that they're going to be using moving forward. So they call it the entire system on a single chip, and that basically means before Apple had to have multiple chips to kind of complete what they're doing currently with this chip. So they had to include the processor, I/O, security, and memory all in different chips. But with this chip, it's going to basically be called the single system on a chip, and it delivers a lot of different things, but it delivers all of that stuff on a combined chip. If you look down here, it's 5 nanometers and it's 16 billion transistors, which is the fastest or the most they've ever actually put into a chip. So we're going to see how that actually comes out in the real world when we do some testing. This also does have unified memory built into it, and that's kind of a big thing. So what is that actually going to do for the chip? It basically means that the chip can access the same data without copying it between the multiple pools of memory. So this really drastically improves performance on the chip and also power efficiency. So, things are going to be faster. Video processing is going to be faster. That's what they're claiming. If you look down here, 3.9 times faster on video editing processing is what they're saying. 7.1 times image processing as far as the speed increase. You can see the chip, though. It's got the CPU, fabric, GPU, RAM, neural engine, and the cache. So everything's built into that single chip. All right, so this is actually going to be 8 cores. They're claiming it's the fastest CPU performance that they've ever built, and it's 8 cores. You can see it down here. They're saying it's about 3.5 times faster in performance than the Intel chips that they used to have. Again, 8 cores. And then what this basically comes out to is here's the M1 chip right here, and then this is the latest Intel chips. You can see that they're claiming 2 times faster CPU performance overall, but at only 25% of the power, which is a huge difference. So you can look at the chart here, way less power. If power's down here, 10 watts is right there versus an Intel chip. So they're going to be able to, obviously make these maybe even lighter or add bigger batteries or more storage or stuff. There's a lot of things that can happen with actually changing over to this, and we're going to find out what they're going to do over the years. The design doesn't change that much right now, but it probably will. So what does that mean with battery life? It looks like the M1 with the MacBook Pro 13-inch is going to be 17 hours up to 20 hours, and the MacBook Air may have a little bit smaller battery. It's going to be 15 hours to about 18 hours. So you can see these are some big changes. All right, so now that we've actually gone through what the M1 chip is, let's go ahead and take a look at the new hardware that's coming out for Apple. All right, so the first one they're throwing this into is the new MacBook Air. I guess you can call it the late 2020 13-inch MacBook Air. If you look over here, though, what's the pricing going to start at? So it's going to start down here at $999 for the starting price and then $1,249. Let's look at what they have, though. So Apple has the M1 chip. These both have the 8 cores, so the CPUs are not going to be, totally different, but the GPUs might be a little bit differently. This has got a 7-core GPU, and this has got an 8-core GPU. This has also got 256 gigs of storage. This has got 512, so that's the difference. Everything else is very similar. You can see that the pricing differences are down here. So there's going to be less differences. It's going to be the GPU in this case, and the storage is $200 if you add it to this over here, which would put you close to this anyway, and then $50 for that CPU. So the errors are not going to be that much different. And again, the Air is going to be very similar in looks, and here's a little picture of it if you want to take a look at it, but it's going to be very similar to what it used to be. All right, let's now talk about the MacBook Pro. And kind of the same thing with the MacBook Air. They're not changing the design, so you're not going to get these really thin bezels and stuff. Here's just a quick picture. It's going to look very similar. It's got the touch bar up here. So they call it the new MacBook Pro. I guess it's the new 2020 again, or the late 2020. But the look is going to be very similar to the old one. All right, so if you're buying one, it's only the 13-inch that have the new M1 chip. The 16 doesn't, so I'll show you that in a second. So it's only the 13-inch. Here they are again. They look very similar. Let's take a look at pricing. So this one on the left has got the M1 chip, 8-core CPU, and an 8-core GPU. This one over here has got the 8-core CPU and an 8-core GPU, so they're very, very similar, right there. The storage is really the only difference. It's 256 gigabyte storage here and 512. Let's take a look. This is going to be $12.99 down here on this side and $14.99 for this one. Again, everything else is going to be very, very similar. Two Thunderbolt ports. You can go ahead and upgrade some stuff, I'm sure, if you get into here. Let's go ahead and select this one. So, the thing is it's going to be, the same kind of Apple tax, $200 for extra memory, $200 for the storage, and then there's not much else to, these are not going to be that upgradable. It's really memory and that's about it, and storage, not even GPUs. So those are going to be very similar, as you can see. So the main difference in cost is going to be that hard drive right there. And beyond that, I mean, they're just listing two just to list them. The 16-inch, like I said, hasn't changed at all, and they're going to basically be the Intel. You can see Intel i7s here, i9. So they still have Intel processors. So to get the M1, you need to go with the 13-inch here, and you can see what the pricing is. And then finally, for all you people that like the Mac Minis, they upgraded that too, so let's take a look at what that has. So now the Mac Mini, it doesn't change just like the other ones. It's not changing that much as far as the design is concerned, but the internals are definitely changing. The main change, if you look here, let's go down here. I just want to show you also the ports on this. So it's got Ethernet, Thunderbolt 4, two of them actually, HDMI 2.0, and then USB Type A, and then a headphone jack. So ports are, I guess, less, but they're a lot more capable. And so if you're interested in that, I wanted to show people what that was. And let's go ahead and take a look at how they're selling them right now. All right, just like the other ones, it's very similar. So if you look here, it says Apple. There's two different ones that are kind of to showcase here, but they're very similar. It's got the M1 chip in each of them, 8 cores in each of them, and this one's only got 256, and this has got 512. This one actually starts at $699, which is a really good price for this. It's going to make you rethink maybe buying a used one in the future. This one's $899 for the 512 gigabyte storage. That's really good. It's got a gigabyte Ethernet, 16-core neural engine, which all of them have. So really the only difference again here is, let's just go in here and select this one, is going to really come down to probably the cost. You're going to go up to 16 gigs for $200, and then storage. This one you can go up to 1 terabyte and 2 terabytes, and then add that cost down. But beyond that, there's nothing really to add to it. It's very similar. No graphic card increases or changes. I'm guessing if you go to this one, it's really going to just let you go up to 16 gigs of RAM, and then you can add the same thing. So they're showing two of them again, but it should really be showing one of them because they're exactly the same, which is kind of just weird for Apple because they usually have different tiers of these just to kind of get more money out of you. But in this case, they're very similar. All right, so what do you think? Post some comments and let me know if you guys think you're going to upgrade to this, or if you've actually waited and you're going to get this pretty soon. I want to know how many people are thinking about getting this. Like I always say, though, you might want to wait a little while to see how things go. Whenever there's a new iteration of anything like this, you can run into some issues. Obviously, is things going to be compatible? Are you going to run into software issues? You just don't know, especially if you're using it for business. You may not want to get rid of your old Intel Mac or iMac or anything like that until you find out for sure. But I think it sounds pretty promising, and definitely we're going to be checking this out. I'm not sure I'm personally going to be able to get one right away, but I will get one eventually to replace. I have I just bought a MacBook Pro 2020, the 13-inch. So maybe in a couple months I'll sell that and I'll get one of these to kind of test it. So just wanted to let you guys know I'm going to be doing that in the near future. Please subscribe to my channel if you can and help me out. I make videos 2 to 3 times a week generally, and just wanted to say if you could subscribe, it's just going to help me make more of these. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.